When you're focused on the bigger vision, then you stay in the bigger picture, you stay in gratitude, and you stay focused. I'm Stephen Taylor, this is WeeklyST, we are at LeadingIT, and this week we're going to talk a little bit about ransomware and race cars. So there's a super informative and educational piece on 60 Minutes recently about ransomware, and they really gave a good lay of the land and update on what's happening with different organizations all over. I mean, there's been 40 or so public ransomware attacks this year. The latest is 22 or 23 Texas municipalities. But 60 Minutes said one thing that's completely wrong, and they said that the best solution is to just pay the ransom. And I think that's horribly wrong. It's completely backwards. The solution is prevention. And anybody who knows anything about this is talking about these very things. We've got to ramp up our security practices and make sure we're doing the right things. We've got to educate and train our employees to prevent these issues from happening in the first place. And then you've got to have a real backup and disaster recovery plan, not a copy of the files, not a silly online backup, a true backup and disaster recovery platform. So that should all these other layers fail you, if you still get hit by the ransomware, you can restore your systems from backups. So those three things right there, you would never have to pay the ransom, but you've got to kind of get your ducks in a row, right? There's a lot of best practices and maybe some new stuff in security that probably should be applied, like two-factor authentication. The awareness, the education, the training to teams is super useful. So one of those affected Texas municipalities was Lubbock County. And I can't remember if it was the mayor or somebody came out and said, we saw it. Our employee noticed something was wrong on their machine. The file wasn't working. They were clicking, et cetera. And they thought, well, why don't I call the IT department and see what's wrong? And IT reacted quickly, swooped in, got things taken care of. And so because of education and awareness, they never had an issue. And then backups. I'm so tired of reading these articles about we paid the ransom. Small city in Florida, $460,000 ransom, right? And all I can think is, where are the backups? Because if you had a proper backup and disaster recovery system, you wouldn't go, oh shit, I think we need to pay the ransom. You're gonna go, well, we'll restore from our backups. Our systems are smoked, our systems are encrypted, they're locked down, they're held for ransom, they don't work, but we've got our backups and we'll restore from there. And it was funny, in the 60 Minutes piece, one of the CEOs said something to the tune of, we hope our backups work. And I'm like, hope is not the correct indicator or measure for success when it comes to backups. They should work, they should be tested every single day, they should be verified, and you should be confident that you have a backup of your systems. So I ended up flying down to Atlanta for a little bit of driving fast and a lot of working on the business and on myself. The invite that I had gotten was kind of a hive's mind of business people, a lot of what I'll say, big cats in the room. Being with other business leaders, whether they were tens of millions of dollars in revenue and hundreds of employees, it was funny how we're all facing the same issues. A company in logistics that grew from 0 to 60 million in 4 years, made the very top of the Inc. 5000 list in the last couple years. Another company in Alabama, they've been on the list for years and years. They continuously grow at about 30+% every single year. Yet another company out of California, kind of a manpower or a hiring for scientists in big pharma, and their huge growth. And so being together with these guys and kind of listing out all the different struggles. We were led there by a business coach, and his guide was, hey, let's talk about some of the things that all of you guys are challenged with. And some of them similar, some of them a little bit different. And we had kind of this targeted list of, hey, what are the issues that everyone's dealing with? And really at the end of our weekend together, what we all realized is, what's standing in the way of success? Really, it's me or the other leaders in the organizations. We all struggle with different things, and it's really how do we level ourselves up and really get focused on our bigger vision. We also got to meet Horst Schultz, who started Ritz-Carlton, and his number one thing was, if you have a vision and it's good for your clients and your team and your community, and if you so believe in this mission that we're going to be the number one in hospitality, we're going to be the best at it and the biggest, that nothing else matters. Whether you have a challenge in the business, maybe a challenging client or a challenging team member, or numbers are down or something's not working right, there's no excuses when you kind of focus on that vision. Then for our last day, we were all together at the Porsche experience. We got to race cars, go fast, something that I love so much. And then it was, as it always is, kind of enlightening to look at how does driving a fast car and building a fast-growing company relate. And really, it reminds you to keep your eyes on the road. Nothing else matters. You can always adjust from small mistakes, but keep continuing, keep improving, and building, a better lap time and a faster time. And how many things go into the car and the team and the tires, and how many things are super important and critical to the success reminds me of you've got to have a coach, you've got to have mentors, you've got to have a great team, and kind of all the SOPs and the operations around that, how important that is to be able to go fast and do it safely. I asked him, Horst, we've been talking a lot about leadership and what do we need to do and how do we need to change and evolve. And he got up out of his seat and he grabbed a pen, and he wasn't teaching, it was just a conversation, but he got up out of his seat. He was like, I'm gonna tell. And the first thing he writes up there is vision. And he said, nothing else matters. The purpose and the vision is the most important thing. And when you can rally around that, or when you're focused on that, everything else, it's excuses, or it's stuff, or it's just little things that don't matter. And then he took a little bit of creative liberty and he segued into, your relationship. And so I would go so far as to say that he believes your vision belongs in everything, right? Whether it's your social life, your career, your relationship. And he said, he sat his wife down early. She thought he was crazy. He said, what is our vision going to be for our life? And she thought he was a little bit nutty, but even today, 40 years later, he lives by that. And he says, some of his friends getting a divorce or whatever it might be. And he says, what do you mean a divorce? There's no such option, right? Because he said in his vision, I want a long-lasting love, that nothing else matters. And so his vision is what keeps him successful even in that, even in his relationship. So Horst also said, clearly you decide where you want to be. The vision is the driving force. The vision is the focus. And when you commit and when you decide that this is your vision and this is what you want, then you decide where you want to be. In this room of big growth companies, right? Again, I felt like, the little guy in the room, but it was enlightening to hear similar issues, similar challenges, all the same stuff. But when we boiled it down, one of the things that came up, or some of the words that came up, was this talk of it's comfortable, it's complacency, it's safe, right? And those, I think, are horrible words in business. We've got to be taking those risks, right? Even first when we jump in, but even later on. And you've got to kind of challenge yourself, and you've got to continue to grow, and that's uncomfortable. And so hearing from these others, hearing from Horst, it's all about the vision. You're going to have to take jumps. You're going to have to take risks to get there. And of course, and as we all know, it rides on you, right? What is standing in the way of my success? Me. Our Nashville Franklin 5 group, we talk about this every single week, and almost every one of us says, what's standing in the way of success? Me. And it's not just me, I'm in the way. It's me, I need to grow, I need to level up, I need to be able to do more or not get stuck in the weeds. We talked about that a lot in Atlanta as well. When you're focused on the bigger vision, then you stay in the bigger picture, you stay in gratitude, and you stay focused. And then kind of sometimes the little things or the distractions or the diversions, you don't get kind of sapped up with that. You focus on what you need to. And it was kind of, and so that was a sit rep. Follow me on all the socials for another episode next week, where we give you another behind the scenes look at a growing IT support company. And certainly we're going to keep talking about all of these ransomware issues in the news.